Oh. Yay, lots of people already. This is so exciting. I do have my camera on. It's looking at me and Everett. All right, friends. Welcome to our leadership call for August. This is for STAR consultants and above. So if you know of any of your friends who are STAR consultants and they're not here, send them a quick text and say, yo, get on here, Steffie's on. Steffie Malborough is from Florida, and she is a Superstar Director. And we are continuing with our mindset theme, and we are going to focus a little bit on what mindset looks like at a leadership level. So we had Catherine Gibson come the first week of the month, and she talked about mindset just in general for everyone, for your life. And then tonight, Steffie's going to touch a little bit more on how to lead from the front with your mindset and keeping your tensions low, spirits high, no matter what's on the news tab, which I think is really helpful for times like this right now, especially in this hyper growth season where every day we don't really know what we're going to be up against when we wake up. So with that said, I'm just going to let Steffie go for it. And then I went ahead and turned off all the dings. So there won't be like the dings of people coming in and coming and leaving, because that's super distracting. I don't know if it's distracting to you, but it is for me. So I turned it all off. And then if anybody wants to talk in the chat box, that's usually the best place to ask questions and comment on anything that Steffie's talking about, just in case you need to clarify anything or ask for more details, whatever's clever. But go ahead and use the chat box for that, because I will not unmute anyone until the end. So with that said, have fun, Steffie.
Thank you. All right, guys. Thanks for coming on. I was expecting like 20 people, so this is awesome. So I am Steffie Malborough. I'm a Superstar Director, as Christina said, currently living in Panama City Beach, Florida. And my husband, who's right next to me, is in the Coast Guard. So we have moved all over the place in his just hit 17 years in the service. And I don't know how many years we've been married, but a lot of that. And then I've been with Sensi for 9 years, and we've relocated 6 times in those 9 years, from everywhere from my hometown of Seattle to Alaska. I ran my business. Key West is where I got started in Florida. Clearwater, St. Pete. We didn't live in Clearwater for Sensi, but you guys get the picture. We've moved around all over the place. So at the end of the day, your business is something that you can pack up and take with you, whether it's a local move or just an apartment complex over, or several states, or even an island. That is one of the most incredible things about this business. And if you are a military spouse, it's one of the things that led me to Sensi, because my degree was in social work. And so to pack that up and take that with us from state to state, and then work out logistics like childcare, and like many of you guys would know, social workers work 40, 50, 60 hours a week on top of being a solo parent because your husband's out to sea. It meant that I would have been responsible for childcare pickups and when the school nurse called and all of those, juggling balls when you only have 2 hands and you've got 2 kids. So Sensi's been the perfect opportunity for our family, and has gone from something that I just wanted to make a couple $100 a month to get my husband off my back about going out and going back into social work after having our daughter Ava has led to full-time income with really working smart now and doing part-time hours. Wasn't always that case. I definitely hustled and put my nose to the grind, and I still do that to this day. I just do it a lot smarter and spend a lot less time on fluff and BS. And I've learned that over the course of 9 years as to what actually is beneficial in my business and are things that I have to do, cannot do. And then also things that are like, if I get to it, I get to it. Or at this point in the game, my 12-year-old and 7-year-old can also do some of those tasks for me, including my husband. So I want to talk to you guys a little bit tonight about a whole bunch of things that I'm super passionate about when it comes to speaking in this business, but then falls under mindset. And talking about probably many of you are feeling if this is your first fall season, and I mean like this new fall that we just had, like, I don't know about you guys, but April, May, June, July were fall numbers in spring and summer. Like the sheer growth and this hyper growth that we've had the last couple of months is insane and has surpassed anything that my personal team and personal group has done ever. So if you guys are now hitting August and you're feeling a little bit tired, maybe a little burnt out, or you yourself are gung-ho for the incentive trip or to keep this momentum going, but maybe your teammates are just kind of making you feel burnt out because you guys are having the same questions asked over and over and over again, or you're seeing the same questions asked over and over again, or the very first thing that you want to say out loud when you look at your Facebook messages is like, did you even check the news tab before you messaged me that? If you are feeling that way, so is everybody else on this call tonight, because that's how I've been feeling. And Christina, my husband, Dawn, I saw she's on here. They get the grunt of me on a group page separate from my team being like, what the heck? Look at these questions I'm being asked, you know, like, look at like what is going on right now. So I wanted to share a couple of things with you guys first about how you deal with this hyper growth that we're experiencing and how to capitalize on it, but also to protect yourself because you cannot pour from an empty cup. If you are a wife and if you are a mom or you are a daughter or a spouse or anything to or contributing to our society around us, then you know what it feels like to continuously pour and continuously give and not receive anything in return, and you just feel empty at the end of the day. So a couple things that I want to share with you guys that I need to get back into practicing more than I'm just preaching. And as my girls start school this week, these are some things that I will be jumping back in with. But things like taking your phone out of your room. If any of you guys have read Mel Robbins' 5-second rule, she talks about how you get your phone off your nightstand. Even if you're using it for an alarm clock, even better, get it off of your nightstand and move it, in my case, to the bathroom or your closet if you have an outlet there. But get it where you have to get up and walk at least probably 10, 20 feet to go and turn off the alarm clock. Still use it as an alarm clock, but set it far enough away from you so that when your feet hit the floor, you have to walk over there. And at that point, it's like, well, I might as well go pee, and now I'm up for the day. So the first thing that I want to, stress to you guys is get your phone off of your bed and stop hitting the snooze button. Second of all, if you have kids especially, and they're getting back into the back to school routine, I want to really stress to you guys that you're not rolling over and grabbing your phone or not walking to the bathroom, grabbing your phone, and then going to the bathroom, but also checking social media. And I really want to strongly encourage you guys to not get on social media the first hour of your morning. And there's a couple of reasons why. So many of us have been using social media like it's our daily news. Like you're sitting there scrolling and you're seeing what politicians are saying, what celebrities are saying, what people in Cincy are doing. You're seeing what your team pages has going on, with your friends, with your family. And all of a sudden, it's been 30 minutes, it's been 45 minutes, you've poured yourself a cup of coffee, you sat down on the couch, you've putzed around in the kitchen, you've given your kids breakfast, you've done all these things while on Facebook. And guess what? After an hour of being on Facebook or on Instagram, you now feel behind. You already feel like your day is starting behind Chloe Cox, who's changed her wax and has gone and sprayed all the things in her bedroom. And you feel behind. You feel behind watching somebody do a load of laundry and they've already been highlighting, Scent Soft and our washer whiffs on Instagram stories. You have got to get into the habit of not immediately turning to social media first thing in the morning to kind of wake up and get your day going. And there's so many other things that we could be waking up and getting our day going. And that could be you spraying your bed with Scentsy Fresh, or the couch, or the dog bed, or starting a load of laundry and highlighting our laundry products. So first, get your phone out of your room. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Once you're up, you're up. So then you can get your day going. Stop hitting the snooze button. And then also get off of social media. Don't be on there first thing in the morning. Nothing that has gone all the hours of you sleeping now has to be answered between 6 and 7, 7 and 8 in the morning. Like, it can still wait another hour or two. And that's why all of you guys have a team page anyways. So next, I want to tell you guys a little bit more too then about pouring from an empty cup too, is make sure you guys are spending time on yourself as far as personal development goes. Now, personal development can sound kind of icky to me. That reminded me of like self-help books that my dad would have like collecting dust on a bookcase growing up as a kid. And I've learned now, and it took me probably 7 years in Scentsy to realize like personal development could probably have a better name than that. But basically it means like pouring into yourself, like getting your learn on. Even as a superstar director, I can attest, Christina can attest, that we are constantly learning. And I think that's why we not only promoted to the top, but continue to get paid at the top. And it's because we know that we always have things to learn. Never, ever, ever do I personally feel like I know what the heck I am doing. And I can always go out and I can learn more, tweak something. Everything's always changing. Social media is always changing. The way we do, I've done basket parties over the year, the way I've added realtor gift baskets, just everything is always changing. So I never feel like I've learned enough. But one of my favorite things to do for personal development is podcasts and YouTube videos. I do not sit down and read a book. Like, never ever. Like, even when I buy a book every Scentsy trip to read on the airplane, I don't open it. Instead, I cash in on the free TV that whatever app, airline that I'm flying, I'm watching Bravo instead. So I like podcasts. There's a couple of people that I listen to in particular, Trent Shelton being one of them, the Gold Diggers podcast. I like a lot of true crime, but I guess that doesn't teach me anything about my business. But those are things that bring me joy. Those are things that fill my cup. And those are things that I can also implement into my business. Maybe not the true crime stuff. But what I'm saying is, when you are taking a shower, I added a speaker to my shower so that's not 20 minutes of shaving my legs of time that's going wasted. So my phone is hooked up to that waterproof speaker. If you happen to do your hair and do your makeup in the morning before you get ready for work, it's a great time to listen to podcasts. If you have a 20, 30-minute drive to work, it's a great time to listen to podcasts. Morning talk radio stinks anyways. So that's when I would listen to podcasts. And that counts as personal development. That counts as pouring into yourself. And it's free. There are so many Scentsy sisters who I am subscribed to on YouTube. And when I'm doing the dishes, when I'm doing a load of laundry, when my kids have been entertained over the summer, each doing their own things, electronics, I have my AirPods in my ear and I am wiping down the counters, doing a load of laundry, sweeping the floors, doing all of those things always with training in my ears. This last month in particular has all been SFR breakouts and expos. Even as a superstar director, I was still listening in on expos and breakouts because I always have things to learn and to then share with my team and also fill my cup. So there's a couple of things that I wanted to share with you guys first about filling your cup and making sure that you were taking care of you personally first. The last one, I say move your body. And because when you feel better, you do better. So I'm not saying that you have to go out and join a gym, especially with COVID going on. They have to start a workout routine. But anything that gets you moving and gets you active, because when you feel better about yourself, whether you feel stronger, whether you feel leaner, whether it's a weight loss, whether it's just for your mental health, which for many of us is what we jumped into when COVID first started, was I need to start moving my body and working out again just for my own like mental peace, just so that I feel like even if I went from jammies to taking a shower to clean jammies again, if I feel like I moved my body and closed my rings on my watch, like I feel like in some way that my day was successful. Like I got something done today. Took a shower, put on clean clothes, and worked out. But when you feel better about yourself, you're going to do better. You're going to go live on Facebook more. You're going to put your face on Instagram stories. You are going to do vendor events or home parties or attend to the Chamber of Commerce and Mixer and feel better to stand up and introduce yourself. When you feel better, you tend to put yourself in more situations that you otherwise wouldn't have because you're self-confident and you'll stand tall and your voice won't tremble and you just feel like strong and ready to tackle the day. So whether you need to start walking or swimming or razor scootering with your kids in the afternoon or sidewalk chalk or whatever it is, walking the dog instead of just going out into the backyard and letting them burn off steam, but you actually go and do that too. I think moving your body is so important, and it's a mindset thing too, is when you feel better, when you feel like you look better, then you do better. So there's that last bit there.
Hey, Steffi, can I interrupt you real quick?
Of course.
Is your husband on a computer next to you?
Yes, he is.
Is he typing and clicking?
He's clicking. Do you want me to move?
Oh, we can hear.
Sorry, guys.
No, you're okay.
Okay, well, we're
trying
going
to
to
figure out
go.
what it is. Oh my gosh, is he
Let's go for a
gaming?
walk.
Are those like total gamer headphones that he has on right now?
Yes, ma'am.
He's killing people.
All
That is
right.
Amazing.
We're moving over here. We're moving over. Is that better? I mean, like,
so
we're
much
like
better.
30 feet away now. Okay. All right. So there's that. I just got my move in by having to move away from him. All right. So next, I want to talk about making a list of 3 important things every single night before you go to bed. So we all have this list of like in our head going constantly of things we need to be doing, should be doing, could be doing for a business. But at the end of the night, I just grab a Post-it note, or in my case, then to my happy planner right here, and you'll see my 3 things. Oh, it's not on the side. Right there. They were right there the other day. And I just take highlighter and mark them off as I go. But these are the 3 things that I absolutely have to get done, and I'll feel a sense of accomplishment the next day. So like yesterday, it was prepping. I have a bar of banana nut bread in my freezer that I needed to send out to a teammate. Super simple task. Just hadn't done it. I was also planning my days like in such a way that if I put it in Monday, she'll get it by Thursday. It's not sitting over weekend. Something simple like that though. So that was written down on my list, was to get that out. I had my Scentsy Club subscribers. I had a couple new people sign up this last week. And so for them, that meant that they're getting extra goodies in the mail from me because they are signed up for Scentsy Club, and that's residual PRV that's rolling in for me over and over and over again. And so that was something that was on my task. So every single night before I go to bed, at least Monday through Thursday, I make a list of my top 3 things that I have to get done business-wise, because when I decide to close my office doors that next day, as long as I've tackled those 3 things, I feel like my business is moving forward. Also, going back to those 3 business things that have my business feel like they're moving forward is focusing on the 3 stools, the 3 legs of success as far as the stool goes. So how many of you guys have watched Chloe Cox's YouTube about the 3 legs of a stool? So a stool has 3 legs. Justin came up with this concept of the 3 legs of success on a stool. Picture a stool, the big top where you'd either, in my case, stand because I'm so short, so I'm constantly grabbing my little one's stool to stand up to reach those shelves where those globes are. So the top of the stool where I would stand, you might sit, that is for personal development and self-care. But the legs itself all represent a part of our business. So when you are feeling drained and empty or burnt out or a low in your business, you have to take time to step back and reflect on, have I been working my business as far as the 3 legs of the stool are concerned? So the first one, PRV. PRV is the first leg of the stool. And what that means is the higher the PRV, then the more people you're getting in front of, the more people that you are meeting. Higher the PRV, then more people you're meeting, the more people you are getting in front of. That means that it leads to the second leg of the stool. Second leg of the stool, recruiting. Because of high PRV and getting in front of all the right people and enough people, you then have the opportunity to do hostess flip kit. If y'all haven't watched Christina's video on United We Rise, you got to go do it. If you haven't done the hostess flip kitting, that's tongue twister. If you haven't offered that yet or don't understand it yet, go learn from your own. When you guys go and find that video on United We Rise, you will see my name over and over and over again, because I tag my own new teammates or anybody who messages me asking me questions about the host flip kit opportunity. So Christina is your point of contact, and you don't even have to message her. Just go watch her video, because she walks you through it like perfectly. So high PRV is the first leg of the stool. Recruiting is the second leg. And then coaching calls is the third. Connecting with your team. Don't get hung up on the word coach and make that sound like it's super overwhelming. It's really going back and running a report and looking at somebody's PRV in the last 90 days. And then looking at how many people they've recruited in the last 90 days. And then touching base with them based off of those numbers that you find. A lot of times you'll have somebody come to you, I'm really having a hard time struggling. I'm really struggling with recruiting. Well, if I go back and look at a report and see what their PRV has been for the last 90 days, they've been active, or they've been barely squeaking by in their $500 in PRV because they want to get paid as a star consultant, or they want to get paid as a lead consultant. So that's where we're having a conversation about is PRV. Not the fact that they're struggling with recruiting, because no doubt they are, but the reason why they're struggling with recruiting is because they're only submitting $200 in PRV every month, which $200 in PRV may be their goal for a hobbyist, but for somebody who wants to have a coaching call and wants to be pushed, $200 PRV is not going to get them there. And that means that they're not getting in front of enough people. They're not widening their circle. They don't have high PRV, which is the first leg of the stool. So if anybody ever comes to you with recruiting problems, take a look, because it's probably a PRV problem first. They need to be having higher PRV so that they have the opportunity to host Flip Kit or be having recruiting conversations in general. So when it comes to your business, make sure that you are always taking care of those three legs of the stool first. Like, there's no point in making felt samples if you're not collecting customer information. Like, that's just silly waste of time. There's no point in making your own whiff boxes or scent crates. There's no point in curating all of that if your subscribers isn't growing month after month after month. There's so many ways in this business where we could be working smarter and not harder. And then we have to reflect back on, was that helping me get high PRV? Was that helping me lead to recruiting conversations? And was I connecting with one-on-one with my frontline to have coaching calls, even if you never call it a coaching call with one of them? At the end of the day, if you are feeling tired and worn out, or in a way, or you feel like the product status list is continuing to grow, or things are selling out, or that room spray nozzles is causing you so much concern and has lost you so much business, you've got to go back to focusing on high PRV, getting in front of enough people, growing your network, meeting new people, adding new friends on Facebook, adding new friends on Instagram, following new accounts, joining groups that are things of interest to you. Stroller strides, maybe you're a military wife, maybe you have a particular dog breed that has Facebook groups out there for it. Anything that gets you in front of new people, especially ones that have similar interests than you. It is so much easier for me to be on social media and small talk with maybe some moms about either a Bravo TV show or something home decor than if I was not authentic to myself and decided to join some Dungeons and Dragons Facebook group. Like, I'm just not going to sell Scentsy to those people. Like, they would know right away that I know absolutely nothing. In fact, I don't even know if Dungeons and Dragons is PG for me to even use that as an example. I don't know. But you guys get the point. I have to be getting in front of enough people and then having conversations and growing my market. Because if you only have 700, 800, 900 Facebook friends, and it's been like that for years and years and years, you've probably tapped out that circle of posting to the same people over and over and over again. Nobody's liking my posts. Nobody's engaging. When was the last time you sent 5 friend requests or like met 5 new people on social media or started conversations with somebody completely different? If your Instagram, social media, Twitter, if you use that, I know nothing about TikTok, but I imagine you grow followers there, and likewise you follow other people. But if you are not continuing to add to that list and continue to grow it, then you're right. People aren't going to be engaging on your posts, liking, commenting it, because it's the same. It's your grandma Linda and her bowling friends for the last 6 years now. So that's all I had to say about that. And then last, I wanted to talk about chain of command. So if any of you guys are feeling any kind of way, whether it's your teammate is feeling tired or burnt out, or you are feeling burnt out, or the littlest thing on the news tab, or the product status list, or even the Scentsy Family Consultant Facebook page just makes you feel a certain kind of way, then I want to just touch base on chain of command, because for many of you, this is call is for stars and superstar consultants. You guys could be having essential and certified consultants who are brand new to this. And so, but they're also second, thirds, fourth, fifth generations down for you, but they're messaging you because you introduced yourself. You've made your presence known that you're a superstar consultant, that you're wanting to take your business to director this fall. And so you have done all the right things as far as like setting yourself to be a director. You've been acting like a director. You've been running the show like a director, leading like a director. And so they're coming to you. And I know for a split second, you're probably like, why the heck are they messaging me? They're 4, 5, and 6 down. Or, oh my gosh, I have to help everybody. I want to help everybody, blah, 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 blah. I don't care how deep they are down. You will at some point, believe me, care how far deep they are down, that they are messaging you Sunday night at 9 p.m. and asking you why they can't add pineapple pucker to their order to close it out. Like at some point in this career of yours, you will hit that wall where you're like, are you kidding me? It's August 17th and you're asking me why you can't add pineapple pucker to your order. Cool, that's where we're at. And also, I know you're 4 or 5 down, and there's really good sponsor or two in between me and you that you're asking me this question, like what is happening right now? So I want to make sure that you guys understand the chain of command, but then also really, truly the importance of stressing the chain of command to your team, because I didn't quite understand it until I was a superstar director with a superstar director underneath me. And honestly, it wasn't until we hit a group count of 800 where I was like, whoa, pump the brakes. This has got to stop. This is madness. The number of questions and repeat questions. And I know that it's my fault because I was too quick to answer. The minute that that ding happened, whether it was through text or a Facebook message, the minute that that happened, I was immediately responding. Now, how many of you guys have kids? And when your kid asks you, hey, can you tie my shoe? How many of you actually stop and just tie your 8, 9, 10-year-old's shoe? With my firstborn, I was doing it. Now that I have my secondborn, I'm like, like, let me sit down and teach you. And that's what we have to do with our teammates too. When a teammate comes to you and asks you a really silly question, and there are silly questions. Like whoever says there's no dumb questions, that's right. There's no dumb questions, but there's some really silly questions that you could easily find yourself, like pineapple pucker. You could probably type that into the search bar on your PWS and realize probably nothing pops up. Must be discontinued, right? So if your child were to come to you and say, can you, like, I need help with my homework, would you just grab their math paper from them and just do all the answers and hand it back to them? There's nights where I absolutely want to, don't get me wrong, but never would I ever grab that paper from them and just say, here you go, Ella. Don't ask me though beyond addition because I can't help you. But it's the same with our teammates. I don't understand why with 20, 30, 40, 50-year-old grown men and women that we are taking their paper from them and doing their math problems for them and handing it back. So we've got to get into the habit of teaching people how to fish and not giving them the fish, because you will get tired and you will become resentful of this business and possibly your team if you are constantly, catching them a fish and then also deboning it and plating it up for them with some like green garnish. It gets tiring. So chain of command. Make sure that you let them know, like, hey, what did your sponsor say? Or did you ask your sponsor first? Also, let them sit. So often now, this new fall that we just had, I would see it push through, whether it's on my watch or whether it was on Facebook Messenger or my text, and I could see through the preview of what they were asking, and it wasn't a wax emergency. And so I would leave it there. The notification would still be left as it unread so that I knew that when I came back to it, I hadn't answered it. But oftentimes I found that when I let it sit for an hour, 2 hours, maybe they messaged me at 5 o'clock, so it was truly dinner time, and I wasn't then getting to my phone for reals to answer them until I was tucking the girls into bed at 9. When I was then messaging them and giving them the answer or helping them find the answer or directing them where to go to get their answer, 9 times out of 10 was I had already received another message saying, forget it, I already found my answer. Like, don't worry about it. Like, I found it, or I found what I was looking for. Because I let it sit, it made them, they wanted their answer right away, but they realized that I wasn't getting back to them right away. And so they had to go and find it themselves. So let them sit. And then also make sure that they are asking their sponsor. I discovered that when I hit a lull of promoting leaders, when I wasn't promoting superstar consultants, especially, and then directors, I realized it was because I was doing all of the work for them and I wasn't allowing them a chance to shine, to be a true leader, because their downline was coming to me, asking me the questions. And when I actually asked, like, hey, did you talk to Stephanie? Did you talk to Katie? Like, what did they say? And they're like, oh no, I came to you. I knew you would know. We have to allow our leaders the opportunity to lead. And we're doing them as a superstar consultant and a star consultant. You are doing your leads and certifieds who have their new first recruit a disservice if you are answering for their teammates, when you are answering for somebody who's second, third, fourth generation down. We have to allow those people the opportunity to lead, and we are doing them a disservice by doing it for them, and they're oblivious. They have no idea that their teammates are even coming to you as their leader, asking you questions. Even now, I'll talk on the phone every single morning with some of my directors. Got one in particular who works in a traditional 9 to 5. She calls me every day on her day to work, and I'll be like, did so-and-so, like, did you talk to so-and-so? She's like, no, why? And I'm like, gosh darn it. Like, literally they jumped over 3 people. Then there's their director, who's a rock star who I'm talking to on the phone. And then there's me, but we can't let them keep skipping over all of those people in between. And we're doing everybody a disservice when that downline is not allowing their leader to lead. And then when we, as the leader, are not allowing them to lead too. So I really want to stress the chain of command, going to your sponsor first, going to the team page first, using the search bar. And I know these are all redundant. All of us type it over and over again on our team page, but it'll get to a point that everybody knows where to go and look. Just like they do know to go and look on the news tab. It's just a matter of if it's a skill issue or a will issue to find what they are looking for. So I think that's all I had. And that was a lot. And I completely ignored the chat bar, so I didn't even know that Mike's clickety click click was so obnoxious.
It's totally fine. I was like, I'm gonna pop in.
Interrupt me.
But you talk the same speed I do. So it's like, people are like, when do you breathe? I'm like, I just go, man. I just go. I just get so excited that I just keep going.
Right?
So I was like, I don't want to interrupt. I don't want to I would get so derailed if somebody interrupted me that I'd be like, I forget completely what tonight was even about. Amazing. Yeah, there's a lot of good comments in there.
Well, I don't have my
really
contacts.
So
okay, I don't have my contacts in anymore. So if there's Christina, you're not speaking over me if you read any of these out loud to me. I'm like,
no, you're good. A lot of people saying that they're burnt out, so I get it. This is the season of that. So I think that it's really important to listen to a lot of the things she said about taking care of yourself and making sure that you kind of stay aware of how much time you're spending in Scentsy world and how much time you're spending in the real world, because sometimes we definitely always want to be blending them in some way just to help balance our life, but at the same time we have to know when to shut it off. Mm-hmm. And if we are making sure that we have teammates going the right direction, especially with chain of command as your team gets bigger, and then that way they also teach their teammates the same way, it's going to help that a lot for you. I was like, I don't really, honestly, I think it's really funny when Scentsy Land is blowing up. I feel like I'm the last to know about it because nobody ever comes to me about like crap, that's sold out, or when is this coming back?
Right.
Like, I just don't get those kinds of messages. Like, I didn't, like, this is gonna be judgmental, I guess. I did not even know that Bring Back My Bar was going on right now. Like, I just, like, I'm in my own business, I'm just doing my own thing. So it was just really funny. So it just says, how do you get out of the burnout stage? Like, if you're already there or you didn't protect your like zone well enough, how do you get out of it?
So, what brings you joy though in this business? So, for so many people who found success with creating their whiff boxes, Christina is a rock star at it, or was. I haven't seen them recently since the page got closed, but like Christina and Caitlin Berry in particular, because I'm close with her too, they're crafty or they're creative. And so that brought them joy. So I'm going to assume, and I'll speak for them, that I know for Caitlin, because we have talked about it in particular, like that brought her joy and that brought excitement back into her business. So if there is something in this business that brings you joy, go do it, and like do it well and train on it on the team page. But, or if there's something that you're particularly really good at, then go do that. For me, I don't know. I can make a circle label till I'm blue in the face on Avery.com. And if I'm ever feeling any kind of way, to go and create a label for something and then share it, that brings me joy. To take that burden off of my team, because time and time again I hear, I'm not creative, or I can't do that, or you come up with these ideas, or blah, 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 blah. That helps me get out of the burnout stage. And also just taking time. It's okay to, Jen Anderson says it best, and that's rest is earned. So like, it's okay to spend a weekend in your jammies watching Netflix if your rest is earned. Like if you've knocked out all of your 8 IPAs the week before, then rest, you know, like it's okay to unplug. It's okay to spend time with family, and it's okay to just focus on something that brings you joy. If clearing out your Amy app brings you absolutely zero joy, let it sit there for a couple of days before you're really ready to like pour a bubble bath and like sit there and knock it out. If doing follow-ups is, if you're an introvert like I am, and like that is so draining for you, is to like play nice and check in with people and all that, I get it. So just to be able to like stop and don't do it, can sit there for a couple of days, but do something else in this business that does bring you joy. Maybe it's watching videos on YouTube and then implementing something that you learned. Maybe it is going to lunch with a teammate and, you know, calling it a Scentsy lunch, but really you guys just like chit-chatting, connected one-on-one. But whatever it is, if you are feeling burnt out, make sure that the IPAs are getting taken care of. But if it's extra fluff that's not bringing you joy in this business, then it can just go away. If you started out doing whiff boxes and those are now like a burden to you, you can stop doing them. Scentsy has them. Focus on Scentsy Club. Like that's residual PRV coming in. If you hate doing home parties, or it's just not even an option right now because of COVID, there are so many other things you can go and like learn about to rally PRV, from Christina's Facebook party pouches that she's doing to my wall fan diffuser basket parties. Those have been my jam. It's literally just the testers for all of the scents that come in our pods. And last catalog season, I was doing a wall fan diffuser with all, it was 29 testers, and getting those out locally and just loaning them out to my hair salon, the nail shop, the teacher's lounge room, like just getting those out to rally PRV that way too. So there's other things you can do. You don't have to do home parties. You don't have to do events. You can do realtor gift baskets. That's another thing that I like to do. A lot of pouch parties, personal shopping links, but whatever brings you joy, focus on that. And then whatever's burning you out or is a bummer, it can wait. Or it might even be able to be scrapped too, if you can find some way else to tackle whatever it is that's bringing you down.
I think it's also important to remember to like boundaries, like she was talking about right at the beginning, but being able to set boundaries with your business. Like sometimes we don't do that, and so we do end up in this phase of like really deep burnout. Some things that help me is, number one, identifying what it looks like to start working and what it looks like to stop working, because sometimes we do blend and blur that line way too much to where there's really no stop working. because we jump on Facebook just to mindlessly scroll, but we get notifications for our team page, or, you know, we jump on Messenger to message a friend, but then we have all those team messages that are looking at us in the face. Like, finding ways to separate what working looks like and what it doesn't look like, and then how you can actually, how can you clock out? Like, if you need to clock out, what does that look like for you? And then making sure, though, that you identify when you're clocking back in, so that it doesn't go, I'm taking a day off, and it turns into 3 weeks. Because sometimes that will happen too, especially if we get too far removed from our why and what we were trying to work so hard for in the first place. Another thing is to set like a mood for when you're working. I like to set moods for everything I do in life. Like, I don't know if anybody goes to bed dreaming about their coffee in the morning. Like, my coffee is what gets me out of bed. So what's something that you can treat yourself with that will get you to go to work, like that would get you to go sit down and do those things that you don't want to do? Because sometimes the little like miniature rewards that you give yourself throughout the day, they are so exciting to earn that you're able to kind of tackle the rest of that pretty easily, especially when you are super burnt out, but you know that you can't stop right now because there's way too much going on. Or say you still have, like, I know how Steffi just said, you know, when rest is earned, sometimes we have already earned our rest, but our to-do list is still not even close to being finished. And it's so hard to go, well, if I don't do it now, it's not going to get out on time. This isn't going to get done on time. Like, and it is really hard sometimes during the fall. And not unfortunately, it's been a blessing, but it is definitely going to be a test for everyone. We didn't get a spring this year, and spring is usually kind of a season of renewal for our businesses. It's kind of a season of rest. It's definitely a season of hard work still, but it's that rebuilding phase that we get in our business. It's that, like, what didn't work this fall that I get to kind of tweak and remanage this spring so that as we go back into fall, we're ready. But I think we were all running on fumes at the end of May, and then June hit even harder and we were running on fumes again. And then we're like, well, maybe July will be like a little bit of a break. And while it might have been less than the other 2 months, it was still way more than a normal fall month. And so there hasn't been a lot of rest that's seemed obvious. There's not been obvious rest in our business right now. So you do have to figure out what going to work and coming home from work looks like for you in the season. Like, what does it look like to turn it on and turn it off, and set those kinds of boundaries? Because yeah, I think that it's really important to go, it's okay if I don't work right now, no one's going to die, and just turn everything off and just go do something you love. So I have to create a moment. Like, I'll get really excited to work. I know some people dress up to go work. I get really excited if I'm like, okay, I've completed all my things that are outside of the house today. I'm going to go make coffee, put on my pajamas, get a blanket, and I'm going to work. Because that's my mood for working, is comfy, cozy, comfortable, happy. Like, just, I like my life to feel like a big blanket. That's just what I like my life to feel like. And so I'm always more motivated to work when I have my settings and surroundings comforting. And then I'm like, cool, I can stay focused and I'm excited. And that gets me excited to work, because then it's my me time. Sometimes your working is your me time. And so that's helpful for me too.
Right. And I was going to say too, I think if you are a mom and if you do make your tasks, your 3 tasks, I don't think it's a bad thing too. I was always trying to be calm. Once March hit, I think that's when our kids came home from school, but like mom guilt set in when like what would have been summer vacation started, because then it was like, how am I going to juggle full-time Scentsy business while also having kids home? But then mom guilt is kicking in that we're not going to the pool, like we're not going to the pool, and we aren't going to the zoo, and we're not doing our family vacation. We're not doing all of these things. And it was like, how am I going to juggle and explain to them, like, mom still has to work. This is when you would have been at school. So making tasks for them too. I had a lot of stuff get mailed out these last couple of months where it wasn't up to my OCD level, but we were able to do it together. So a lot of tasks I was doing with my 7-year-old, and my 12-year-old was labeling and bagging and doing all of those things with me. And it wasn't to my level of prettiness, but it got out and it got done. And I also didn't feel guilty because we were doing it together. Or like Christina said, it was something earned. Ella, my 7-year-old, has a sugar tooth like no tomorrow, and she loves Roblox. So like there was a lot of bribery and paying for like a trip to go get candy, or is it I can never pronounce a word right, and she always yells at me, but like Robux, buying her those so she can buy stuff for her game. So making a mental note of things that you guys can do together. There's now tasks that would take me forever to do, and I would get frustrated. Running reports on our workstation and uploading it to Excel, I can't do. It's not that I can't, I don't want to. So I tell myself I can't do that. So I'm not even going to teach myself. That's something that Mike does for me. It takes him 2 minutes. It would take me a 30-minute YouTube to watch how to do it and pausing it to follow along. And so that's a task that he takes over for me. And I'm just like, I need a report of my June and July customers so I can mail them out Happy Mail of the new catalog. And he's just like, here you go. Like, and whereas that brings me no joy and I would never do it. So prioritizing things that you guys can do together was big for me and mom guilt.
That's awesome. Does anybody have any questions real quick before we end this? If anybody has any other questions? I think they would have probably typed them. Can you hear my husband's guns shooting? Can you hear the shooting game? So I'm glad both of our husbands are.
So along the lines of what Christina, I think, wanted me to talk about, when you guys see something on the news tab that could come across or you read it as womp womp, it's okay to not be the first person to copy and paste it and bring it over to the team page. Because as a superstar director or as a star director or a director, sometimes, not often, but sometimes we've already been given the explanation. So if you see something that could be construed as like, well, that's a bummer, or that stinks, or, you know, COVID sucks, sometimes it's okay to not run and go tell your team first as a star consultant or a superstar consultant and let somebody else do the explaining or do the copy and pasting, because oftentimes we have insight into the why. So the bricks being sold out for so long in Scentsy Club and why that wasn't a thing. As a consultant who is reading that, as a star consultant or superstar consultant, it's like, what the heck? Bricks have been out of stock for an entire month now and yada, 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 or we don't have catalogs or we don't have product tear sheets. But as a superstar director, if we saw the post or we've been on a call, we know that the reason why is because our printing company was giving us dates. We will have these to you on August 1st, and they weren't fulfilling their end of the bargain. So going back to the news tab or the Scentsy Family Consultant Facebook page, like if there's ever something that could be, you know, twisted in a way that looks negative, a lot of time there's a reasoning for it that your director knows, or your star director, your superstar director knows. So then let us be the one to go copy and paste. But oftentimes when we add the context as to the why behind it, it's really not like, yeah, it might stink, but it's explainable. There's absolutely nothing we can do about our third-party printing company giving us dates and then not sticking to their dates and then not fulfilling those dates and letting those dates pass. And then Scentsy got to a point when they're like, we're done posting on the product status list when catalogs are going to be in stock or testers are going to be in stock, because our third-party vendors are the ones who keep giving us dates and then not delivering. And so then Scentsy was looking like the bad guy when it was completely out of their hands. So it's okay to like let those things sit and see if somebody else like has the insight, because once we all know the reason why, as opposed to just silence, then it's like, all right, I can't argue with that. Like I can work with that. I know why. All right, like what can we do and how can we get creative to like get past no catalogs right now? Digital catalog on our PWS is awesome. Like we can brainstorm and come up with other ways together instead.
I think another thing to remember too about just the business that we are in, money flows up, not down. So there's never a decision Scentsy makes against us. So because if we aren't working our business and it's not easy for us to make money, they make none. So like, it's not a regular company where the money is up here and then they feed it down wherever they feel like putting it. It's literally the money's down here and it goes up. Does that make sense? So anytime Scentsy makes a decision or they post something that you're like, what? Why would they do that? That would make my job harder. Somebody's unmuted and I can't tell who it is. It's Nina. Okay, so just remember that it goes from the bottom up. So anytime Scentsy makes a decision, it's definitely never against us, because they know that if they hurt us, it hurts the company worse. So they would never do anything on purpose to hurt us or make our jobs harder. So always know that if it feels negative, there's a reason. If it feels hard, there's a reason. If it's going to be really difficult, there's a reason, and they don't want it to be difficult. That's never their first option. They have already tried everything if it's come to the point where this is just a hard thing. So don't forget that they are working harder for us than we probably are sometimes, and we just don't always know all the moving parts, but always assume there's a ton of moving parts. There's definitely a reason. They're always looking out for us. They have our best interest in mind. And just anytime you see something that you're like, oh my gosh, this is going to be either like negative or I'm going to have people complain, just keep reminding yourself that there's always a reason. They always have our interests, our best interest in mind. They wouldn't do anything to hurt us on purpose, and they're probably doing their best, and we don't know the whole story. So that's usually helpful, especially when you are trying to just like weigh the heaviness of that on yourself, because sometimes burnout just comes from confusion, or it just comes from feeling like you're helpless, and so you're just like shutting down because you don't really know what else to do. So,
and it's probably not even your teammates who are complaining. It's probably an all consultant group. So like, it's totally okay. And I give you permission to like back out of those threads. And I get caught up in them too. Not even Scentsy related. It could be something political or COVID or government. Like it could be any of those things. And I'm like, ooh, what's in the comments? Like, don't do that to yourself. And if you find yourself in those comments reading things that people are finding negative and you're like, wow, I didn't even think of it that way. Like, just don't put yourself in that space to even let somebody make it a negative when you were just like, okay, cool. Like, all right, we don't have nozzles for Scentsy Fresh. Cool, 10% off discount. But then you see in the comments, somebody's like, I absolutely cannot repurpose a trigger. And it's like, don't join that pitchfork. Like, and they're not even your teammates. So like, don't engage. Like, don't let them bring you down. It's going to be okay. There's no such thing as a mass emergency.
For sure. And just remember that the loudest, most angriest people are the ones who are selling 200 every 4 months. So do not trust the opinion or the outrage of someone who isn't in the business every single day. Because if they're not in this every single day, they're not looking out for you. They're only looking out for them, and they could care less about Scentsy. So don't take someone who is not heading the same direction as you. Don't let their opinion weigh on you ever. Even like, what is it, like star consultant and above is already like the top 20% of the business, or the top 10%. Sure. Like, it's insane. Probably top 10% if you're a star consultant or higher. So don't forget that probably like 1 out of every 10 people is not looking out for Scentsy whatsoever. So their first thing is, what can I get out of this? How is this bothering me? Et cetera, et cetera. So that's why, like, I know in our group, we've always kind of said, hey, all consultant groups are kind of a cesspool, because there's not that many people in Scentsy who are working it like every day. And those groups have like 50 to 60,000 people in them. So you're looking at most of those people being hobby level people who are up for cancellation constantly. Yes, they're going to feel like it's Scentsy's fault, right? It's always Scentsy's fault and never theirs. And as leaders, you know that that's not true. So just, don't get your news from those kinds of sources for sure. And don't get your opinions or your feelings from them either, because you're in this business every single day. You could probably evaluate the situation in a much easier way than they can. So you see more of a bigger picture than they can. So, alrighty, I'm gonna let you guys go. Thank you so much, Steffi.
Thanks
if you guys have any,
sorry about the clicking.
It's all right. I finally was like, I'm gonna interrupt her. I'm just gonna do it.
I know there's probably like arguing over here in the comments, like, no, you do it. No, you do it. Sorry.
Dawn was texting your husband. Like, she's like, I know what it is. I know exactly what it is.
Check your messages.
What game is he playing, by the way?
I'll say here first. I don't know what to tell you.
Who pays for the internet?
Me.
Christina wants to know what game you're playing. Oh, he says, I can't even tell you what he plays because I have nicknames for all of them. So he's either right now playing No Me's. What is No Me's? What is that? League of Legends. I call it
Kip used
I
to
call it
play
his
that.
No Me game. And then yesterday I walked in on him and I was like, what are you playing? Oregon Trail? Because all I see is like mountain ranges. What was that game? Factorium?
I don't know that one.
I don't know. He's a gaming nerd. Like,
well, that's awesome.
This was not a thing.
I mean, the clicking was very serious. He was like, it sounded like clicking from League of Legends.
And he was probably
like,
being
it's
so
like,
He was probably being so self-aware too because he didn't talk. He didn't drop an F-bomb, but apparently clicking. Got it. Noted for tomorrow night.
What
I have to interject a minute. As soon as my husband started hearing the clicking, he knew you were somebody was playing a game, and he was like, I bet he's either playing what was it called? League of Legends. He was like, I bet he's either playing that or Call of Duty, because those are the only games that you would need to click that much for. So my husband's a giant nerd also.
He doesn't. I don't think he's played Call of Duty since we lived in Hawaii, which was like 6 moves ago.
I'm too old for
He
it.
says he's too old for it now.
I love it. I love it.
All
All
right.
right, friends, have a great night.
Night, guys.
Thank you for showing up. That was one of the biggest calls we've had, almost 40 people, which is awesome. Because I mean, we have, I don't know how many people we have at these titles, but we have a team of, honestly, I haven't checked recently, but I bet we're probably at 2,000. And we had just under 100 people on our all consultant call for the first time. This is normally the amount we get on our all consultant call. So that was really exciting. Thank you guys so much for showing up for Steffie.
You're not burnt out. You're ready for
if you're showing up to this, you're not that burnt out. I hope you guys have a great rest of your night. Have a good week. We love you. And I'll see you later.